Welcome to another episode of Streamin with a Purpose. It's time to be inspired and motivated to live your best life on purpose. On Streamin with a Purpose, hear the stories of people who have, despite the odds, dealt with the challenges that life sometimes brings, but who still manage to overcome those odds. If you think life is tough and you have to settle for where you are, my guests and I are here to tell you you don't have to. I speak to people who were once where you are and are now living their purpose, and I want to encourage you to live your life to the fullest. I am your host, Sylvia Montgomery. Let's take a listen to our next guest. Hello and welcome to another episode of Streamin with a Purpose. I'm your host, Sylvia Montgomery, and I am so glad that you are tuned in to today's episode. On today's episode, we have a returning guest, actually two of our podcast guests, Beverly Samuel and Alyssa Samuel. We have with us today Beverly Samuel, and this is the mother-daughter duo who presented us with the children's book, Make New Friends. So Beverly, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. So sorry that Alyssa was not able to join us today, but we'll certainly be considering all of her contributions that she has had to this project, as well as she is a co-author on the book
Yeah,
with you.
she's a
That's
co-author on both of the books, so yes.
awesome. Now, Beverly, the first time that you and Alyssa were on the show, it was during Women's History Month in 2022. And here we are almost 3 years later, and you're back with a sequel to the book, Make New Friends. It's Make New Friends, Red, White, and Blue. You guys have been very busy.
Yes, we have. We're very proud of our second book that was inspired by some of our experiences in our
Mhm.
family. So I can tell you a little bit more about it later, but just excited to be here.
Well, we just thank you so much for allowing Streaming with a Purpose to know what's new with the sequel and how it's really making a difference in our communities. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to remind the audience that Beverly, you are a retired federal employee who has worked diligently in the diversity and inclusion realm at that level. And Alyssa is a management consultant who works on federal contracts. And as you said and alluded to earlier, she is a creative writer. So I should also add that, as you just said, the whole concept of Make New Friends was inspired by your family's life experiences in school, work, in the community, as well as events that are taking place across the country over the past several years. And that is a great lead into the book itself. So, how did Make New Friends come about? Let's talk about the first book and how it all started.
Well, you've mentioned that I worked for the federal government, and during that period, I served on a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force that was to encourage our employees to develop an appreciation for different cultures and backgrounds, where we planned activities during the various months that emphasized different focuses. So after working for the federal government, I retired, and it was during COVID. Had a lot of time to think about my purpose and what I wanted to do after that. 37 years of working in the federal government and previously with Extension. So it was after the George Floyd incident that I was watching television and I saw people marching all across the world in protest and in unity of for a purpose of highlighting what had happened to him. So it was during that period that I began to think about how could I make a difference? And I wanted to do something that related to diversity, but would embrace people coming together to support each other. And I thought it starts with children. When children develop an appreciation for people from different backgrounds and culture, they grow up with a different perspective and they grow up appreciating different people, different religion, different ethnic backgrounds, different foods, different experiences. So that was the thought process behind the first book. And my daughter, Alyssa, who's very creative in writing, helped me bring that concept to fruition in the first book of Make New Friends, which is about a little girl who starts at a new school.
Hmm.
And the book doesn't mention diversity, equity, and inclusion at all. However, it's kind of understood because the little girl meets different classmates, some that have different hair, different skin tones, someone wearing glasses, someone in a wheelchair, and she learns to appreciate their differences, but learns that they also have things in common. So that's the storyline where the little girl learns to appreciate different people. And so just as children can do that, adults also hopefully display that.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for that background, Beverly. I really appreciate that. I appreciate knowing that. And with your diversity and inclusion background and the work that you've done throughout your career, especially within the federal government, just thought, how are you feeling regarding the president's stand on diversity, equity, and inclusion? And not just the president's stand, but pretty much throughout the country, with the waving effect of how a lot of businesses no longer incorporate that into their offerings on their jobs.
Well, I know the immediate impact for me has been more difficulty getting into the schools to conduct readings because of a lot of people just have more scrutiny about, who is allowed in the schools. And so after individuals are able to do a preview of our books, they see that they are promoting positive messages, encouraging friendships and encouraging teamwork. Things also like treat others as you want to be treated, the golden rule, which are all principles that we want to teach our children. So I think it's been more education required to help people understand the importance. And then I feel like they actually embrace the concept a lot easier. But initially, it's just getting my foot in the door.
Hmm. So it sounds like the whole DEI concept within itself is really a positive thing.
It's also been a positive thing too, from a perspective of parents who have said, my child really needs this type of book now in this environment where it's discouraged,
Mhm.
whereas a lot of people see the advantage of having diversity, equity, and inclusion. Uh, Although we've seen a wave across the country where, people talking about DEI and how they want to eliminate it. I've also seen the flip side of it with parents and grandparents saying we want to teach our children the importance of this concept.
Now, Ava is the main character, at least in the first book, and I'm sure that many children can relate to Ava. Ava is someone that I can even relate to, Beverly. I was at an event just this week that was different for me. As soon as I entered the room, I didn't see anyone who looked like me. I was the only one of color in the room. Then,
Mhm,
as the evening wore on, there were a few people of color that came in,
mhm,
but we're talking about a room full of people where the
mhm,
majority were not of color. But I should also add that I knew that it would be like that going in. That
mhm.
was one of the reasons that I went, because I wanted to make new friends, sort of, I guess. I
Okay.
wanted to be in the presence and in conversations with people who didn't necessarily look like me. And I'm
Mhm.
seeing more of that throughout my community. And I think that that is a great thing when it's intentional, when
Yeah.
these types of opportunities present themselves throughout the community and it is intentional,
Mhm.
and people just want to have, they want to see the diversity, the equity, and the inclusion. They want to see all sorts of people, not just people who look like them. So that's a great thing, and that's exactly the statement that your books are making.
Thank you. And I think that you will find through your experiences as well as I have, when you have different perspectives, the synergy of ideas of people coming together from different backgrounds, you just have so much a better end result as a result of having diversity in thoughts and people.
Mhm. Now, I know that the last time we were together, you talked about the unique attributes of each of the characters in the book because they all have that unique attribute that makes them different, right?
Yes.
And you had mentioned that each of them could be the main character, even in a sequel of books. And also, you talked about the possibility of introducing your book, to public libraries and within the school systems. So just wanted to know, how is that going? Any updates on that end?
Well, we've been very fortunate to be able to get our books in a few of the uh, library systems in the Northern Virginia area. I thought initially that I would be able to get our books in libraries all across the country just by emailing and sending out a e-copy of the book. And that proved to be challenging. However, I have been very fortunate to go into a number of schools in the Northern Virginia areas to do readings, as well as book fairs, as well as community festivals all around the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. So it's taken a little longer than I had anticipated. However, I am hopeful for launching our books on a greater national scale. And it was just in the last week, I heard an interview with John Gresham, who has written 51 novels, a resident of Virginia. And he said his first book signing he went to, he took 1,000 books. And at the end of the night, he ended up taking back home 800 plus books. So I felt like if he struggled initially, then it just gives me hope for how I can continue to plug away at my dream, my hopes, and goals to further launch our books on a greater scale.
Hmm. Now, so now you have Make New Friends, Red, White, and Blue. Can you just share a little bit about the difference between the two books?
The first book was about Ava, who started at a new school, meeting her classmates in different scenarios and learning that they had things in common. And the underlying principle in that book is treat others as you want to be treated, the golden rule. So throughout that story, she meets her different classmates. And in the end of the story, she's planning a birthday party. And her parents say you have to limit it to three of your new friends. And she reminds them of the golden rule to treat others as you want to be treated, and everybody's invited to the party. And she says, in the end of the story, her new friends taught her so much about herself as well, just, learning to make new friends with people who were different from her. She stepped out of her comfort zone. Our second book in the sequel brings back all of the characters from the first book. And we introduce some new characters that are going to a military camp, a summer military camp for 1 week. And the main character, Ethan, meets his former classmates there at camp. His father is deployed, and during this camp, he's learning about the branches of the military because he aspires to someday be a soldier like his father in the army. And so Captain Smith takes them on a journey where they participate in different activities that teaches them about the different branches of the military. For example, they fly little airplanes that are remote powered. And that day they learn about the Air Force. And then they learn one day about the Coast Guard. They do a swimming exercise. They learn about the Navy as they do an exercise where they're out in the water. So it's a fun way to teach children about our branches of the military through snippets. However, it honors our troops and veterans and teaches them also about teamwork and how, if they work together with their different activities during the course of the week's camp, they could reach their dream as a team.
I'm thinking this is awesome for right around Military Family Month because it's a great opportunity for families to just sit back and read to their children about military itself, right? Um,
Yeah.
and especially military families. Wow, Beverly, you all have you're doing great things. When you started off describing the first book, one of the things that I heard, Beverly, is that there were similarities among them. So I just wanted to capture that thought because while there were noticeable differences
Right.
among each of the children, once they got to know one another, they learned they had so many similarities as well.
And that's just like we as adults. If we take the time to to know someone who's different than we are,
Hmm.
on the surface, they may just look different. They may be of a different ethnic background, but you might learn that you have so many things in common. And I have friends from different ethnic backgrounds that I've learned through the years that we do have things in common and we build friendships around those things. So,
Hmm.
children in the book, Ava does the same thing with her classmates.
Hmm. Now, Beverly, I know that you spent a great deal of your career working as an extension agent who's worked with youth at all levels in different capacities. And here you are in your retirement years, dedicated to working with the youth again. Do you think that all of your career history has brought you full circle to your purpose?
I do. And I also not only worked with extension with youth through 4-H and then also in the schools doing special interest programs. I also served as youth director in my church for nearly 10 years in two different churches with young people. So I've always had a passion for working with the youth and guiding them, hopefully being a positive role model, and also helping them to develop intellectually as well as spiritually. So I do feel it's come full circle. And I want to share with you just about a month ago, I received a message through Facebook Messenger from a young lady that I worked with as she was a teenager then, and she is now in her 30s. I want to just read to you what she said because it was just so um, heartwarming. She said that God led me to reach out to you this morning. Our message this morning was on the importance of seed planting. I wanted to thank you for your planting a seed in me so long ago. You may not realize it, but your guidance and example of Christ during a short but important part of my life continues to manifest today. Thank you for being the example you set. Thank you for the small acts you may not even remember. Thank you for letting God use you. May you continue to be blessed. So this is from a young lady that is it's been at least 15 years ago that was her youth director. And to get that message from her just let me know that I am living the purpose that God had for me. And so it brought tears to my eyes because you just never know what you do and how it can impact someone. So, my volunteering all those years, sometimes you feel like it's a thankless job because many times parents will come drop their children off and you're the one who gets to take care of them for the evening. But, planting seeds that can manifest in their lives that make a difference is what keeps you motivated and know that you're making a difference.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you've made a difference, not just in the younger people's lives, but even in my life in the past. You've given me some great advice over the years. And I
Well,
just want you to
thank
know
you.
that I really appreciate it. And so much of what you have said to me over the years, I still keep at the forefront. And so I just wanted you to know that.
Well, thank
Now,
you.
you're welcome. Beverly, I did have a podcast guest not too long ago, actually, who said to me that you will know your purpose when you're in it.
Hmm.
And when I hear that, it sounds to me like you could just stumble upon your purpose without even realizing you're living your purpose until you really think about it and then you realize it.
Hmm.
So, how is it that you know that you're living your purpose? I guess it's letters like that one. But did you want to expand on anything else about knowing that you're living your purpose?
I think also knowing I'm living my purpose when I find joy in what I'm doing and a passion and a drive to just keep doing it, even sometimes in the face of adversity or being told no or obstacles may come in your way, but that you know that you know that you know that deep in your gut, it's like you know this is what God has for you, and the joy you feel when you're doing it is the driving force that keeps me going, keeps me
Hmm.
motivated, and also reaffirms that I'm living my purpose that God has for me.
What advice would you give to someone who has not stumbled upon their purpose, but who would love to?
Well, I can tell you what I did. And so um, I mentioned, and even while I was working, I felt like I always was living in my purpose. Even, I had three different jobs. I was a instructor at a college. I worked for Extension, and then I worked for the federal government. So even then, I felt like I was living my purpose because I was doing training or teaching or starting new initiatives that made a difference for communities and for families. So for me, helping others always gave me joy, whether it was providing a community event where someone gain knowledge that maybe helped them in their lives, or whether it was providing a grant to a school that made a difference for their college or the state that they're in. So I think the helping part of it is what makes me realize that I'm living my purpose. And the joy that I feel just doing it makes me reaffirms for me every day that I'm living out my purpose. So in retirement, I felt like I needed a new purpose because a lot of the things that I had been doing for decades, they were no longer there. And it was that searching for purpose. And so for someone who doesn't know what their is, or for me, I spent time in prayer, reading scripture, meditating. And so God gave me a vision for these books. So I know it was through God that it happened, because just like seeing the people marching, as I mentioned earlier, across the nation and the world, uh, in unity for bringing about change. I was like, children need that. They need to be able to see that unity in humanity is a positive thing.
Mhm. Beverly, I believe that there are different levels of purpose, and I believe that, when you're living in it and you're walking in it,
Mhm.
um, there are just things that takes you to other elements within that purpose, and it is sort of like a full circle, but everything just sort of works together. And
Hmm.
so it sounds like you've always been working in your purpose. You've just allowed God to just lead you to the level that's next on that purpose journey. And right now, where you are, this is the level of purpose that you are. But, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, it may be a different level for you, doing
Yeah.
something that's also sort of connected to what you're doing now. But as long as you allow God to continue to lead you, it's your purpose.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I also believe that um, you are where you are uh, because of predestiny sometimes, and then also by the choices you make. And so I certainly aspired to be able to have my book nationwide, internationally, but I know that a journey can take a long time. It can be years, it can be decades, it may be a short time. Sometimes it's who you make a connection with in your life that may further the purpose that you have. And so I was talking to my daughter about having a desire to be able to go into schools and read books and give my books away. And so I'm not rich. And so to just be able to go in and donate books, I'm not at that level yet. However, just with that conversation with her, she was able to find a grant through Amazon Northern Virginia Community Fund that supports just that vision for me to go into schools and to conduct reading and discussions with the children. And then I'm able to donate 10 books to each of the schools when I leave. And so sometimes just having a vision of where you want to go and being able to articulate it, to be able to set goals can help you take you to another level. And also, we received a grant through Tiny 4.0 where we got some mentorship through entrepreneurs around the country that has helped us with the business aspect of developing our venture.
Awesome. And I do see that you have some program offerings on your website. So would you like to share the many ways, the various ways that and entities that the community can engage with your product?
Well, certainly, one of the things that we love doing is book readings and discussions, and we love the idea of helping to start book clubs in the community. And also, we have exhibited our books at a number of community events. We have done book signings where we go into libraries and read the book and do signings there. So we are hoping to expand to include more, but those are the things that we have offerings that we are currently doing. We would love to be able to do some corporate sponsorships to be able to work also with nonprofits to train volunteers, because one of the things that I learned when I was working with Extension, if you really want to be able to have a multiplier effect, you need more people. And so we are looking to partner with nonprofits that might be interested in training volunteers to go into schools to do readings, but to also be able to have a certain model. We would like to be able to train the volunteers using our book and our curriculum that we've developed.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And if someone wanted to just purchase your book, where can they purchase it?
They can purchase it on our website. We also have our first book on Amazon, and it's on Barnes and Noble and Walmart online. Our second book we have only on our website, and we're looking to expand our website to be able to provide additional offerings through the website. We have also provided our curriculum that we've developed to teacher work sites where they can download the materials free. So anybody that's in an educational role that's interested in our book and then wants the curriculum, we're providing that to them free so they can have a starting place for discussion with the book.
Beverly, what does the curriculum consist of?
We have discussion questions that help the children understand the book a little bit better. For example, with the first book, Make New Friends, we have discussion questions such as, why was it important for Ava to step out of her comfort zone to meet new people? We ask them questions about, what does it mean to treat others as you want to be treated? And we have a rhyming scheme throughout the book. Everyone is different. Don't be shy. Have no fear. Make new friends this school year. And we also utilize the song that's very familiar to a lot of Girl Scouts, Make New Friends, but Teach the Old. So that's one of the exercises that go along with the book. We have activities such as questions that would ask children to describe something unique about themselves, passing around a ball where they hold the ball and then they say something unique about themselves and then they pass it to the next child. So activities that would engage the children to make them think more about the concepts that they've learned in the book.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And the second book, we are still working on that curriculum.
Sounds great, Beverly. It sounds like your dream is coming to life. And, I'm just excited for you. And I can imagine that this journey has been, I can't imagine that there hasn't been some times throughout the journey where, everything was just easy breezy. Is there anything that you would do differently if you had it to do over again?
I believe that, the first time when we self-published our book, we went through a publishing company to do it. The second time that we published our book, we actually did all of the publishing. We used the software to put the designs in the book, as well as we worked and had our own printing done. So we took on more of the ownership of our project from the start to completion. And we were able, instead of having our books, printed on demand and just sold through Amazon and some of the other entities, we have printed our own books through a printing company, and we were able to control our quality better that way. So we're very pleased with how we have done it the second time. So we learned through our first experience, and some things were out of our control with working with a large company. And while we have maintained our quality and improved it, we were able to lower our prices because we were able to do our project from start to end.
Awesome stuff. That is so good to know. Now, are there any other tidbits, Beverly, that you would like to share about purpose?
I would just say to anyone who is searching for their purpose, never give up. And I I remember this saying, winners never quit and quitters never win. So even when it gets tough and you feel like it's not worth it, if you really are passionate about whatever you're doing, keep at it. Whether it's, setting new goals, sometimes you have to reassess and step back. You might have to take a different path, but don't give up on what you're passionate about. And I wholeheartedly believe in the scripture. It's Jeremiah 29:11. It says, "For I know the plans for your life, plans to prosper you and not harm you." So I just believe that when you trust in God and you lean not to your own understanding, He will direct your path. So that's what I live by, and it has served me well through all that I've experienced in my life.
Awesome advice, Beverly. Awesome advice. Um, That is something to leave us with. So I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to leave it right there. I want to thank you for your time today. You and Alyssa, you've done an awesome job, and we'll just continue to follow your path to see where it takes you next. I'm excited for you. I thoroughly enjoyed Make New Friends, the first book. So I know I'm going to enjoy Red, White, and Blue. So I want to thank you again for dropping by today and just providing your inspiration, your tidbits on purpose, and for providing this awesome product so that people can really see the how effective diversity, equity, inclusion can really be.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You have just listened to Streamin' with a Purpose with your host, Sylvia Montgomery. Thank you so much for listening, and continue to stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, bye-bye.